life. What is up? How are you?
I'm so good. How are you?
Doing wonderful. I think we're experiencing some weather that you get to deal with quite often. So it's like negative 18 wind chill outside right now.
Oh, we have major weather coming our way too, like
Yeah.
intense weather.
Yeah, I think it's hitting here, moving your way. So what's up? How have you been?
I've been so good, Coach Kitchens. I am so happy to see you and be with you and love being in your space, but I'm good. Everything's good.
Last time we really connected and obviously just still keeping an eye on you and Bruce and just kind of paying attention and a lot of growth, a lot of things have happened this past year. Not only in the business but also you pushing it on the endurance side of things and pushing Bruce on the endurance side of things, which is so amazing. So awesome.
He's on the Sufferfest bus with me. I know. I wish he could have been here, but yeah, he did a lot personally in terms of like exercise and growth. So that was fun to watch.
We've always talked about it too, right? From a leadership perspective, being able to push and do challenging things like that, to me, it carries over into everything in life. And, to see him, because I know he's always been, your biggest fan, your biggest supporter there for you on all the crazy things that you like to do on the endurance side of things, for him to be there and actually for him to jump in and you be the support had to be pretty magical experience.
Yeah, it was amazing. And I realized I'm not a good spectator. So I'm better just being the one out there and like letting people worry about me, because when he raced 70.3, the Ironman, I was like a wreck, like, where is he? Why isn't he out of the water? The tracker's not up, So I realize I'm better as a participant than as a spectator, but it was amazing to watch.
Yeah, that's so cool. What was kind of, I'm always curious for people's reasoning why they jump in and try to do those things. I know your reasoning's probably different than his, but what for him was it that like, hey, this is something I have to do?
I think, he was really trying to get, like, we're all working on health and being better. And right, you and I always talk about being 1% better every day. And I think he just felt like it was his time to really push himself to the next level. And obviously, like, the loss of his mom got him in a place where he had to channel a lot of that energy into something positive. So he really buckled down. He rode his bike a ton. He's super fast on his bike and just running. And, it's like therapy for somebody who needs to be active. Obviously, he was a professional snowboarder. So I think when he's not doing something that's physically exhausting himself, it can manifest in different ways in his, just personally for him. So he just needed an outlet to get through some of those really hard times.
Yeah. And I mean, I think when you push yourself and physically, it forces you mentally to where, what I've found is that there's not much that really bothers me, right? You can, you have a kind of a process you have a process to work through challenging things and things that, seem like unbearable for most people. It's like, okay, well, this is nothing. Right. And so to me, it's just when you stretch yourself, there's no going back at all.
Yeah, it pushes you. I think the mental toughness allows you to deal with day-to-day things that are not as big as we believe them to be. When you just continue to put yourself in uncomfortable situations, then I feel like you're really able to deal with just life in just such a better, more level-headed manner than if you were weak.
Yeah. So, for you continuing to push, I always tell, I think you do the hardest race on the planet. the
Yes, it
SOS
was.
was crazy. And so for you, being able to complete that again, you completed that again this year.
Yep.
What, like, when you do that, right? And for you, I think this is kind of cool for people to understand. How has that translated over into the business side of things, and more importantly, into your leadership and into your leadership style?
So I don't know if intense is the right word. Like, I'm very passionate. I feel like I wear my heart on my sleeve. I don't try and pretend to be somebody I'm not. Like, I'm just very myself all the time. But I feel like my passion translates into kind of whatever I'm doing. I've always been like that. I'm going to give 110%, and I'm going to show like how much I love to do the things that I truly love to do. And leadership for me has been something I really love more than anything I think I've done professionally. Like, I really enjoy leading. And like leading with my heart and leading from the front and leading in the trenches and just showing the team, like, I'm not just up here in an office. I'm like I'm dialing with the team. I'm with the team. My heart's with the team. And I feel like that's how I am as an athlete, right? Like,
Yeah.
I show up with my heart. Like, I give it 110%. I'm very involved in like the community aspect of a lot of the races that I do. And I do it because I love it. I really, really love it.
I think that's such a little secret ingredient, right? That there is some type of passion or something, a bigger purpose that's pushing you through for it. And, like for me, when I did, my first Ironman, I mean, it was really because, literally it was because I wanted my kids to say my dad's an Ironman. That was, the whole reason I did it. And I remember, going around, it was the second loop. So Texas has 3 loops on the run. I was on the second one, and it was dark, and there's a back side of that trail. And it's just pitch black, right? Texas is known to be kind of a party race, especially on the run.
Yeah.
And there's a quiet place at the very back of the loop. And I remember, cause we all hit those dark patches. Not only kind of on the race and in the endurance side of things, but also in business and in life. And I just remember just repeating to myself over and over, and I would visualize each of the kids, and I could just visualize like clear as like they were standing right there next to me. My dad's an Ironman. And then I would just, Caitlin, my dad's an Ironman. Right. And just kept going through all of the kids saying that. And it's just the amount of like that additional energy that you have. And I think, having some of those mental frameworks, I don't want to call them tricks or hacks, but they're just mental frameworks that allow you to kind of program or work through challenging times. And, what I see for you, and I remember when we were going into, and I probably shared this with you, we were heading into, I think it was maybe March, April of 20. It was either end of March or the beginning of April. And I remember having one of the most powerful conversations with my dear friend, Mr. Blake Sloan. And he was kind of relaying a message that his coach was telling him. His coach is Garrett White. And Garrett was telling him that, like, motivation and activity is not going to get us out of this. You're going to have to lead your way out of this.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, from a leadership perspective and doing the things to improve on that skill set daily, how impactful and how important are you seeing that as the market's doing what the market's doing, as we head into, this kind of dark winter of seasonality and uncertainty, heading into the first quarter? Like, where are you seeing things and how important leadership is, right now?
And I think that's where like the mindset is everything, right? Like, I'm built for difficult times. Like, give me, like, that's where I shine. Like, the more chaos, the more difficult, like the more ready I feel like I am. So I tell the team, I'm like, regardless of the market, right, our action is going to determine our economy. So what we do every day is going to determine the economy we're going to have. Good economy, bad economy. If we're doing nothing, it's going to be a shitty market. If we're dialing and doing what we need to do, prospecting and branding ourselves and being in the community, our action is going to dictate a really good first quarter. So, I always say I'm the eternal optimist, although I am a realist, but I really keep them excited about what's to come. Like, this is the market. Everybody takes their foot off the gas. Like, we're going to put gasoline on the fire right now and really push forward into 2023. And I think that's where the leadership is important, to keep everybody. You always say motivation won't carry you. What do you tell me?
Motivation is internal. Yeah, motivation is internal. Nobody can motivate us. People can inspire us.
Yeah. So that's where, I'm always trying to inspire the team to do better and push themselves further. And a lot of it in our ecosystem is personal development too. And now I think just by people watching Bruce and I and putting ourselves in difficult situations, we've had a lot of really incredible growth for our agents too, doing really epic, difficult things over the last 12 months, which is going to ultimately prepare them for difficult times and hard times. We're trying to just create an environment of just personal growth all the way around. Whatever people want to achieve, we want to help them achieve it, and just know that that's going to translate to their business.
Yeah. From definitely, everybody there that's day to day with even Bruce. I mean, they see it from you. It's not almost that they expect it from you, but they need you to do that, right? Because they're looking to you for that. And I think that's your obligation as a leader. It's Garrett has that little saying, the king eats first, the queen eats first. And what he means by that is that you have an obligation to lead, and you have to make sure that you're making yourself the best version, because you have people that are looking to you for that inspiration, that guidance, that leadership. And so when I see, you continue to do those things, and then I even get more excited when I see Bruce trying to do those things.
Everybody. I'm like, wait, what? Because everybody's like, oh my God, and he got really fit and he lost a lot of weight, and he was fast. He was really focused on training, and he was working really hard, and everybody was really inspired by him, because that's not his wheelhouse. So right. For his ability to be able to do that was encouraging for a lot of people, and we had people run their first marathons this year, and now we have people running 50 milers this coming March, and just doing crazy stuff, and Marty in our office, the guy who ran New York City, he was 300 pounds, smoker.
So cool.
I mean, so cool. I promised him, I'm like, just put your name in the lottery. You'll never get picked. Nobody ever gets picked. I've been trying to get picked for 20 years. You'll never get picked. Sure enough, he gets picked, so, and he did it. So
that was meant to be. It was so cool. So cool to see. I think the other inspirational thing I've noticed, you've been more out front. You've been more, more so in the real estate community, on more stages. How has that experience been for you?
It's scary, right? I feel like I'm a leader here in my little bubble. And I remember Kyle Whistle asked me to speak on stage, and I was like, I'm not coming. I can't make it. I don't feel good. And he said, Lindsay, nothing grows in comfort zones. And I remember he said that to me, and it was the scariest moment, because I felt like I was in a room of people I could never impact. They were much, much bigger than me. So there's nothing I could ever teach them, or nothing I could ever say that would impact them in any way. And it was the opposite of that, right? So for me, it was a moment of growth, really, that it changed me, getting on that stage and speaking and delivering a message that I really was terrified to deliver. I don't love being on stage, full transparency. I kind of like flying under the radar, but it's been impactful for me. Right. And it's changed me a lot to speak in front of people.
Yeah. Goggins said something in his new book, kind of satisfied. I think it was kind of satisfied where I'm at. And he said, you got to be careful when you're satisfied, because right around the corner from satisfaction is complacency.
Oh yeah.
And I know you're of the belief that you're either growing or dying. So when you fall into satisfaction and slippery slope to complacency, that's not growing. And so forcing yourself to get uncomfortable and being okay being uncomfortable, I mean, it's a huge leap. And even the connection of being on stage like that, just one person, right? To me, if I can just connect with one person,
That's it.
It's worth it.
Yeah.
And it's so powerful. So, I know that stretches you, and moving forward, I mean, I would push you. There's got to be more of that, because I know, people look to you for a lot of inspiration. And so you do have a lot of value to give.
Yeah. And I think I'm very humble. Like I always say I'm a small town mountain girl. So I feel like I just stay in that place where I'm really super humble, and I never, maybe it's, I don't give myself credit, or maybe I just stay in this place of, humility, but, I don't see myself that way, but
Yeah.
I guess I forget that I do inspire certain people in certain aspects of their life. And so I try and remember that and give myself to the community, the real estate community, in that way as much as possible. And, I feel like I'm just an average person, right? And I think if you stay committed to anything, I was talking actually to a running coach. I'm hiring a running coach. My 2023 personal goal is to qualify for Boston.
Oh,
And
yes. That's awesome.
yeah. And he said, he's very selective with the athletes he coaches. And I said, I'm very coachable. And he's like, I appreciate that. He's like, but I need my athletes to know that it's a long game and it requires patience. And none of the training will happen overnight. And I said, listen, you're preaching to the choir. And that's what I think in this industry, people forget, right? Is just like one foot in front of the other every day, staying committed, doing the hard, mundane things. And that will ultimately push us forward. So
Yeah.
I think, it's hard to stay motivated every day.
Yeah. So where do you draw that motivation for you? Where does that drawn from?
That I think a lot of it comes from the need that I have to be this way to lead my team. So there's days where I am exhausted and I wake up and I'm like, oh, but I know that I got to like turn it up, turn it on, get people excited, and like keep this momentum moving forward. And then like for exercise, for me, it's just a sheer need, because in order for me to be the best version of me, I have to be moving my body. I mean, we've talked about this. So
Yeah.
it's a necessity. It's like I have to breathe,
Yeah.
That's how important it is for me.
Yeah, it does. I even know, days, go a couple days or whatever, just with travel and not able to like push it. I mean, I just don't feel 100% on. And so, knowing how important that is, it trickles down into everything else. So I just believe that is super, super important. I want to kind of shift over to the business side of things. And, for you guys heading into 22, what were some of the biggest changes? Did we hit our marks? Were we off a little bit? What were some adjustments that you had to navigate through, the last 12 months?
Yeah, I mean, the market changed, right? So like that was a big one. My goal was to phase out of production this year, which I did, which, was huge for me. I just felt like it was time for me to start like peeling out of production. And I know you and I had talked about that. So to do that, obviously, we took a bit of a hit in terms of production. We're going to hit our goal. We'll do just over 100 million this year in volume. And that's with me not handling any personal transactions. And then just the market shifting where we are, because obviously we're, in the Hudson Valley, it's, we did really well during the pandemic, like a lot of markets, but a lot of the money coming into our market was second home buyers coming out of New York City, and that definitely stabilized. So, I'm really happy with where we're going to end up. And we've taken on a lot of really amazing new agents that I think are going to propel us into 2023. Our goal is 150 million in 2023. I really think we can hit that with some of the new team members that we have. So that'll be exciting. And, we got Zillow Flex in 2023, which has been really good for our team, production wise and volume wise. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. A lot to be excited about. Just, I'm going to go back even further, just a little bit, and just always curious, what propels people to make certain decisions and do what they do. And I know you guys were, hit hard, within the state of kind of as we were going through 20 and 21 and, even teetering on, hey, we're not a tree, right? We can move.
Yeah.
What was some of the decisions to, stay put and really anchor down in the market?
I mean, I think we're like organically growing. The team is amazing. I feel like I really do not like the phrase your vibe attracts your tribe. But after we had a holiday party on Tuesday and I kept saying that because I was looking around the room, I'm like, these are my people. Like, I finally feel like we have a group that is so unbelievably like gelled together and really committed to each other and loves each other and supports each other like in a genuine way, not because it's a core value on the wall. Like we really love and support each other. And it just felt so good. The team felt so good that I'm like, how could we walk away from this?
Right.
And I felt obligated to push, and we have a lot of amazing people reaching out and wanting to be a part of what we're doing. And, not to say that we won't have a satellite office somewhere in the warmer climate one day, but,
maybe after this weekend, you'll be like, hey, Bruce, we need to maybe think about this.
You remember the road trip we took that year? I showed up on a bench in Key West.
Yeah.
Well, that's going down again. Like on
Yes.
the day after Christmas, we're getting in the car and we're doing the same thing. We're just going to drive. So we'll see where we end up.
That was so cool, right? I think you can talk me through, the decision that you guys had. You just knew you had to get away, right? Just with all of that. So there's a lesson in there. What was that lesson for you guys?
Just do it. For us. And I'm in a similar place now where it's like when you go so hard the whole year, just in every aspect, it's like, I feel like the week between Christmas and New Year's, in my opinion, is like the week to just like shut her down. Because after the first of the year, I'm like, it's spring market. Like that's where my brain goes. Like, we got to start forging ahead for the spring market. It's just the perfect week. And I knew at that point, we needed to leave. And I feel very the same way this year. So we are going to leave. And our family doesn't even know that. Maybe now they will. But same thing. We're like, where are we going to go? We don't know. I think we might go to Charleston. It might be our first stop and then just kind of make our way south. But it's fun. It's fun for the family. It's fun for the kids. It's an adventure. People are like, how do you not know where you're going? I don't know. I don't know where I'm going. Well, where are you going to stay? Airbnb on my phone.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah. I don't know. Wherever the wind takes us.
Yeah.
But I'm also as much of like a leader, like I am a leader and a planner. In my personal life, I am pretty I just like to go with the wind. I don't actually like to plan things. It causes me more anxiety than just getting in the car and going. I like not having a flight I have to catch at a certain day and time and, knowing exactly where I'm going to be. It's just, adds a little adventure into my life.
Yeah, it's in strategic coach, they call them, free days, right? Where you go 24-hour period with absolutely no work, no work conversations, no work podcasts, no nothing. And I share that concept with a lot of people and they're like, there is no way in hell I would do that. I could do that. I'm like, once you do it and you do it a couple times, you can absolutely do it.
Yeah.
And the whole idea and the concept around it, and Darren Hardy talks a lot about this as well, is the quality of that, recovery essentially really impacts the ability to perform at a higher level. And, just like you said, when you're always running the gas tank on empty, you've got to have a few days to be able to just rejuvenate and recharge, to be able to push, because you're going to drain the gas tank again. And, I would love to see more people do that. And like you said, just unplug. And because I know it helps, what it rejuvenates and what it helps is it helps our creativity. Because when you're always going and you're keeping it on the gas on the floor and running the gas tank empty, it doesn't allow us to really step back and be as creative as we possibly can be.
And it definitely recharges me. I come back I don't vacation well. So it's, like 72 hours in, I'm like, okay, it's time to get back to work, So I feel like I need just that little reset. And then I'm excited to get back to it. It's a new year, new goals, definitely new people in our ecosystem, and just really excited to, get to it. So I think it's important. And everyone in the agent community, a lot of people are like, oh, well, I can't leave. It's like, listen, you can be anywhere in the world and service your client. I find actually when I'm away, and this is probably what I shouldn't be doing, but I feel more accomplished in terms of business because I have less distractions, and I just, take a couple minutes every day, do what I need to do, make the calls I need to make. And it's like, then you just get back to being present with your family.
Yeah. It's the whole thing, right? Work expands to the time allowed. And sometimes when we're, constantly in the trenches, we just allow work. There's no start stop time. And then
nothing.
When you're on that fixed schedule, or, it's just real short windows, work expands. It's just crazy, right? You're like, well, I need 4 or 5 hours to do this. Well, what if you had to do it in 30 minutes? And I bet you could do it.
I swear, it's like, I call it like the airport mentality. When you're leaving for the airport, I feel like you're so focused on what you need to do. The amount that you can accomplish in that time before you catch a plane is like astronomical. It's just that we allow so many distractions day to day to take up so much more time than something really actually takes. So if you can just buckle down and focus, then the time things take is much less minimized greatly.
Right. How do you try to minimize that, on a day-to-day, and then also try to lead and coach your team to do the same?
Just keeping a calendar, right? And I think that's something all of the agents on my team, we do an exercise where, you go up and declare your goals and what's your biggest struggle. And across the board, it's always time management. And I feel like as I've gotten busier and being pulled in different directions, it's even more important. Like every little thing is on my calendar from start to like put my kids to bed, and just keeping to that. Like, okay, I'm with John Kitchens now. What am I doing next? What's after that? What's after that? There's swim practice from 7 to 9 for my daughters. Like, it's just got to be that regimented in order to accomplish everything you're trying to accomplish, which is different for everybody.
Sure. I agree. And, it's that whole, if it doesn't make the calendar, it doesn't happen. And I was at the Sprint in Denver last month, and, Glenn had a session, and it was just really around, success habits. And, he really said, really what your habits is what's in your calendar. And he said, if you don't have or keep a calendar, then that says a lot about what your habits are. And just the way he articulated it, it really resonated. And, we've always had the little saying, show me your calendar, and I know what your revenue is going to be kind of in the next 90 days. And so it's the same thing, right? Show me your calendar, and I kind of know what your habits are. I know kind of where you're going to be business. I know kind of where you're going to be with your relationships. I kind of know where you're going to be with your your fitness and your health. So I just think it's super, super important. Like you said, I don't think you have to go, as detailed and crazy like Tony Robbins, who has every 15 minutes, calendared out. Yet there needs to be a specific amount of detail that's captured within there. And for example, right, with your agents, you said prospecting. Our thing was like, okay, well, who are you prospecting to?
Yeah, and that's got to be declared. the biggest issue with prospecting, which is something going into this market, everybody really is going to need to do, is like love on their database and prospect and do the hard things that no agent wants to do. But the thing that I find as a leader, the biggest issue is when they sit down to prospect at 9 or 10 or 8, whenever it is, they don't know who they're calling. So that hour is eaten up by like, wait, who am I going to call? Do I need to call this person? Do I need to call that person? And we just did, Monday Mayhem, which is 8 hours of prospecting every Monday for 4 Mondays. And we huddled on Sunday night to get really clear on like what's happening tomorrow. What dialing pond are you calling? Who is it? So that when you sit down, you know exactly what you're doing. And that's like preparation, your Sunday prep for the week. I try and get my agents in the habit of like the night before the day, check your calendar so you can prepare for what's to come, the following day, and just get your head in the game. It's important. I think it really is important, especially as you're scaling, because I always thought, as an agent, because I love production, I always thought, oh, I know exactly what I have to do. I got to be here. I got to be here. But then it only takes like one time where the client's like, hey, are you coming? It's like, oh my God, and I got there. I was that agent that was so unorganized. I was double booking myself. I wasn't where I was supposed to be. And it was a mess. So, I think you got to feel that pain.
Most organized, unorganized, right? until it's not, right? And it's like, okay, there it is.
Right? Like, you're not busy. You're chaotic busy. Right. Like you're just always trying to keep up. Yeah.
You're so reactive. And what happens too with that is that you end up on other people's agendas. You end up on other people's schedules instead of being proactive and on your agenda, your schedule. And it really is important. And I think it's one of those skills, right, that you develop and it gets better over time. It's always progress. It's never perfection. I mean, I'm always tinkering with my calendar. In fact, next week, same as you, right? It's just a reset week for me. And one of the things that's on my big thing for next week is reset the calendar, refocus, reset the calendar, things that I've learned this year that I don't like, things that I know I want, where I need to capture more space to do certain things that are priorities for me, given where I'm at. And I think that's the key thing with agents, and just depending upon kind of where you're at, right? Your 3 key priorities are different than an agent on your team that's in the trenches, that's trying to close, 2.5 deals a month, is different than what your obligations are. And it's the same thing with Bruce, and Bruce's obligations are a little bit different. And so it's always like, what is most important now is where I need to make sure that that's allocated in the calendar based upon the season of the business, season of the year, season of your life. So there's a lot of things. Yeah.
Yeah, like this season, it's dark here at 4:30. So it's like the schedule day to day is so much different than when you have daylight till 9 o'clock, right. So it's just, you got to tweak it. And I think the biggest issue with calendars, with agents, probably in any industry, is that you're trying to mirror someone else's calendar and you don't own that. I'm like, just because they prospect from 8 to 9, like if that doesn't work for you, like don't put that on your calendar. Right. We have an agent that's a new agent who's crushing it. She prospects from 7:30 to 8:30 every single day religiously, because that's the time she has, because she has 2 kids. And I'm like, whatever it is that works for you, that is yours. And right. I think everybody's trying to like copy John Kitchen's calendar or this person's calendar, and it doesn't fit. They don't own it. It's not exactly what they want to do, and it doesn't work for their lifestyle. Therefore, they're not going to win. They're not going to win with it.
Well, they're going to give up on it, right? They're not going to stay committed to it because it's not theirs. It's not aligned to their goals, where they're at, their life right now, right? And that agent that's going from 7:30 to 8:30, that's not forever. That'll change because life will change. And I think the biggest thing, Lindsay, is just uncovering or kind of just doing the math on the required amount of hours needed performing specific tasks, and then making sure that number of hours is met in the calendar each week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, it's crazy, right? A lot of agents think they're getting into real estate for freedom, and yet they don't maintain and control their time to allow for true freedom. That's the key.
I
Yeah.
was telling Dan and Kyle, I said, of all the things that I've gotten, right, which is a lot, the greatest thing I've learned, the greatest gift that I feel like the growth has given me is my freedom, is my time, and I've worked really hard to try and pull some of that time back. And I remember Dan's like, you have to earn your weekends back in this business, because for 13 years, I worked 7 days a week. I mean, with sun up to sundown, I was working. And
Right.
we probably talked about this. My daughter was like, the only time we see you is when you're walking out the door.
Right.
And that was like,
Gotcha.
yeah. So I am trying to like earn the time back with my family and be present, and which is something that you have to sacrifice a little bit in this business when you're getting on your feet.
Yeah.
So,
And I think
yeah.
it's also right. It's hard to make a change without awareness. And so sometimes we need that gut punch, like your daughter saying that to you, or, hey, how come every time we're together, you're always on your phone? Those little comments like that creates awareness. Now, once you have the awareness, you have the ability to do whatever you want. You can
Yeah.
continue to keep running out the door. You can continue to stay on your phone, or you can make the change and do, not do that, be more present. And I think that's, one of the things that we challenged a lot of our clients, definitely in the mastermind settings. The biggest challenge I pushed on everybody for quite a while was, the challenge of balance. And my definition that I subscribe to for balance is just being present wherever you're at.
Yeah.
That's my definition of balance.
And I think giving yourself grace, right?
Yeah.
I feel like everybody, I don't know what it is in the universe right now, but there's so much sadness, and everybody, I just feel like we need to be more present, and we have to give ourselves grace, and we have to understand that balance is, in my mind, never going to be 100% balance. Like there's always going to be something, but we're doing our best, and and that's all. We just need to love ourselves more, and just know that life is not always going to be perfect.
Right.
My father always used to say, Lindsay, on bad days, you just buy the newspaper and read the front cover, and there's always somebody that's got it worse than you.
Yeah.
And, I was telling, I forget, somebody last week, like my father's a boxer. And as a little girl, I was raised in the boxing ring with Floyd Patterson. Him and Floyd Patterson were really good friends. So my whole life has been like metaphors of boxing, right? If you get knocked down, you get up, dust it off, shake it off. So like, I feel like I carry that mentality with me, where it's all okay. And even when it's not okay, it's going to be okay. We're going to get through it and figure it out, and do the best we can do.
Yeah, it is so good. And, for me, I think it's not just one thing, right? I think, the cardio, hitting the gym, the focused on the body is so important. Connecting with other good humans, I believe is really important. One of the biggest things for me, and I've shared this with you, is, the mindfulness practice going on, 9-10 years now, how important that has been for me. And, really subscribing to, the daily, gratitude, starting the day with gratitude has been super, super important. It's kind of weaponized, right? Kind of that power switch every day, right? You've got to put that, it's almost like you got to put a suit of armor on these days. And, to me, it's the mindfulness, it's the exercise, it's, the gratitude, it's all of those things help kind of, I don't want to say weaponize, but kind of really, put that up to where, that negativity and other people's problems don't, interfere with what you're trying to achieve.
It's zip. You say, putting the armor on. I tell people, like, zip yourself up. And then at the end of the day, unzip yourself, take it off, shake it off, and leave it at the door, because it's so much toxic energy coming at you. And, you got to put yourself in a little bubble.
Yeah. Yeah, you do. And that comes back to, kind of protecting your environment. Because, understanding the sequence of things, right? What drives our thinking is our environment. So if you allow negativity, I haven't watched the news in 10
Oh,
years.
no,
And
I deleted
so,
all the apps off my phone. I'm like, I don't want any of it. Don't give me the alerts. None of it. I don't watch any of that either.
yeah, people, the media is a business model, and you have to understand they're in a model to create attention so they can sell ads, and that's how they make money. And so the only way that they can create attention is through fear. And that's all they do. It's a business
I'm
model. And
Yeah,
I don't want to pay attention to that.
no, I'm not scared.
Yeah. Yeah. It's awesome. So looking forward into I want to ask you one thing. So what was the biggest aha and lesson learned, or the biggest thing that you guys did on the business side of things in 22?
I think we're very focused right now on recruiting into the team, like knowing that in order to increase production and transactions, it's going to take bodies. And just getting really clear, which is something we work together on a lot, on expectations and standards, and allowing that to dictate the environment rather than us trying to continuously tell people what to do. Is like the standards they're the rules,
Mm,
right? And we are gonna stick by them. And regardless of how great somebody is or how much production they do, if they are not if they're not a culture fit, or they're not adhering to the standards and the expectations of the team, unfortunately, it's not going to work. So and a lot of the changes we made when you and I were coaching together was we would implement things but not stand behind them. So
mm,
therefore the team would be like, oh, it's another thing Bruce and Lindsay are, implementing, or another system, another process. And we got really just focused on sticking behind things we were rolling out, and being really committed to the changes we were making. And if we had to make an example out of something, like it was a hard conversation we just know we needed to have. So just being really committed to that.
yeah, I love that. So, just for everybody, listening in that will listen to this, when it comes to, from a leadership perspective, head of company, creating the standards, like you had said, it was something that you and Bruce were kind of implementing, or maybe kind of pushing on the team and the organization. Has that changed? Is it more collaborative to where they have a say to help create the standard?
Yeah, and I think we worked with you on accountability, right? 100-0. We love, the self-directed accountability groups. Now I feel like our culture is very much around accountability and personal responsibility. Whereas if somebody's out of alignment, the rest of the team is going to call the person out.
Yeah.
Like they're just, they're either going to push them, or, we have an environment where you have to be open to feedback, and you have to be willing to hear things that are difficult to hear. But now almost the team sort of polices the culture of accountability, because it's like we're all working together. You can't be on the bench and expect the rest of the team to be on the field. So it's full transparency. It's not us up in a room talking about people, and it's the agents being like, you didn't show up. Like, you have a commitment to this team and you didn't show up.
Yeah.
And they're managing that, and they're pretty committed to it too.
I love it. It's just tight feedback groups, and we all we all need that accountability. And is one of the things I've been thinking about lately, is really kind of the relationship that you have with the mirror versus the relationship you have with the window. And, being able to be in an environment to where, you really want to take a hard look in the window, into the mirror, and you've got people that know that you want to achieve great things, and they're not afraid to put the mirror up in front of you. Versus it's so easy for us to look out the window and call everybody else's faults. But it's a whole different thing when we've got to look in that mirror and
You got to
call
own
out
the
our own
outcome.
faults.
And it's like to the point where if you walk into this office and you like rattle off an excuse, people are going to tell you just like, you need to walk out the door and come back in, regardless of if it's something you couldn't control, a tree fell, this, a red light, there's traffic, like, no excuses, just own the outcome. And I think if you continuously do that, because feel like we are a culture of excuses, it's easy to make excuses. When you really start paying attention to that and being aware of it and stop making excuses, then you realize you just show up in a totally different way.
Yeah.
Now, and I'll stand in front of the group and be like, I effed up.
Yeah, we all do. We all drop the ball at times.
Yep.
Yeah. The thing is, what are you going to do about it moving forward? Yep. Right? That's it. What are you going to do about it moving forward? What do you want to do about it moving forward? Have those moved their way and now they're part of the core values?
Oh yeah. Personal responsibility, accountability. Yeah. And the team, a lot of what I'm doing as a leader is the team it's collaborative, because we know that if it's me telling people, it's less impactful than them coming together and defining where we're going, what we're doing. Like our transactional goal is 416 transactions. That's their number. That's not my number. That's all collectively the numbers that they want to achieve personally in 2023. And that's the sum of all the individual transactional goals. So they own that.
Yeah, I love that. And, I think that's what people want. They want to be in a collaborative environment. They don't want to be told what to do. They want to feel like they're a part of something. And it's that feeling that they're a part of something that matters. That is so key. Obviously, fair compensation for what they do, but they want that, right? They want that culture, that feeling. And I just remember, I think it was Digital Marketer, and this has really stuck with me. They said, only two things that matter when you're building your organization is that you have a slightly better competitive wage for the value that the team is receiving, and you have an impeccable, incredible culture. Those are the only two things that matter. And I'm like, got it.
Yeah. And I think just pushing people out of their comfort zones, right? And I've had to do that as a leader, and we've done a lot of things internally where they also have to do that. Every week we spin the wheel. Whoever gets picked needs to go up and be prepared to present to the team, right? And teach the team something they feel like they have excelled at. And therefore now you're a leader, you're coaching the environment. And they get up in front of the room like I did and don't believe there's anything they could teach their peers. And then they leave feeling really confident and capable. Yeah. So, every week everybody's like, oh. And what it did do is made them be prepared.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh shit, if it hits me, what am I going to do?
What am I going to do? Yeah. And I think that's key. I think, Kristen Cantrell on Expert Mentors yesterday, she touched on the same thing. She said, she didn't realize, I don't think she really realized it. So I pulled it out of her a little bit. I said, so you've had better engagement, more people showing up when they feel or when they're contributing and being a part of teaching back to the group. She's like, yeah. And I was like, yeah, that's a big time nugget right there. So I love that you guys are doing that and really having everybody feel like, they're a part of something and they're not just sitting on the sidelines.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lindsay, you're amazing. I really appreciate you jumping in and hanging out. It's always fun connecting and, definitely inspirational. Keep doing what you're doing, and appreciate you and Bruce a ton, and just wish you guys nothing but the best and continued success into 23 and a very Merry Christmas.
Same to you. I absolutely love you, Coach Kitchens. I'm so grateful for everything you've contributed in my life and my business as well. So Merry Christmas, happy holidays, happy New Year. And I'm here for anything you need from me too.
Awesome. Appreciate you. See you guys.